Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to attend the Rock Springs Road and West Orange Trail Extension Study public meeting presented by Metro Plan Orlando in partnership with the City of Apopka and Orange County. We'll begin this meeting with introductions of the study team, and I'll start with myself. My name is Taylor Laurent. I'm the manager of transportation planning at Metro Plan Orlando and the project manager for these studies. To my left is Amy Sermons. She is the consultant project manager with VHB. And then in our audience, we have Pam Richmond, the transportation coordinator for the City of Apopka, who will join us for our panel later today, as well as Brian Sanders, our assistant manager for the Transportation Planning Division for Orange County, who will also be joining us for our panel. So I would like to take a moment to recognize any elected officials that have attended this evening. Are there any elected officials here in the room that would like to be recognized? Are there any elected officials here this evening that would like to be recognized? All right, this is as close as I can get.
Much better.
Yes? Are there any elected officials here tonight who would like to be recognized? Thank you for attending this evening. Next, we'll give a presentation that will cover both the Rock Springs Road and West Orange Trail studies. At the conclusion of the presentation tonight, we will hold a question and answer segment where we will answer questions from both in-person and virtual attendees. For those attending in person that would like to make a comment at the end of the presentation, please fill out a comment card and hand it to one of the project staff in the room. If you need a comment card, please raise your hand and one of the team members will bring one to you. For those attending the meeting virtually, please note that all attendees are placed in listen-only mode during the presentation. You may type comments or questions into the Q&A box at any time during the meeting. To access the Q&A box, select Q&A on the Zoom control panel, and then enter your comment or question in the Q&A box and select Send in the bottom right corner of your screen. Questions received both in person and virtually will be answered at the conclusion of the presentation. A moderator will read the questions and our team of panelists will provide an answer. This meeting will last approximately an hour tonight. If you called into the meeting with your phone, you will not be able to enter the comments into the questions box. However, you can contact myself, the project manager, by phone at 407-481-5672, extension 306, or by email at tlaurent@metroplanorlando.org. This information is provided on the screen and on the project website. So tonight, the presentation will cover an overview of the studies, including the study locations, project lifecycle, public engagement to date, and the purpose of each study. Next, we'll present the proposed Rock Springs Road strategies to improve safety and operations within the study area and the potential West Orange Trail extension study alignments. Last, we will review the study schedule and close with how you can get involved. The Rock Springs Road study is located on Rock Springs Road from Welch Road to Lester Road, including the Welch Road at Rock Springs Road intersection. The Rock Springs Road study also includes recommended improvements to the operations and safety at the intersection of Sandpiper Street and Park Avenue, as well as additional recommended updates to improve the operations and safety at the intersection of Sandpiper Street and Park Avenue, as well as sidewalks along Sandpiper Street from Lake Avenue to Usler Road. The West Orange Trail extension study limits are from the existing West Orange Trail terminus at the intersection of Rock Springs Road and Lester Road to the proposed Wekiwa Trail extension at the intersection of Rock Springs Road and Kelly Park Road. The trail extension study is also proposing additional connections to the Wekiwa Springs State Park entrance via Welch Road and to the Wolf Lake Elementary and Middle Schools, as well as the City of Apopka's Northwest Recreation Complex via Pumpkin Road. These studies are being done simultaneously due to their proximity and similar schedules. Now, a traditional project lifecycle consists of 4 steps, including planning, design, right-of-way, acquisition, and finally construction. We are currently in the planning stage for both projects. During the planning phase, the project need is identified, improvement strategies are evaluated, and a recommendation is selected to move forward to the design phase. Timing for each phase is dependent upon available funding. So it is essential during the planning phase to have ongoing public engagement, like what we're doing tonight. At the beginning of the study, an online survey was conducted to gather initial input from the needs of the corridor. On January 27th of this year, we conducted our first community meeting to present the alternative concepts for each project. A virtual meeting room was held open to review these concepts through the end of February, in addition to a survey that was given to gather feedback on the alternatives considered. Tonight's meeting is being held to share the study recommendations for public input, and a final survey will be made available following this presentation tonight to gather feedback on the proposed improvements being presented. So the study recommendations being shown today have been selected as part of the alternative development and refinement process. This process begins with the alternatives development, where alternative concepts are preliminarily evaluated and compared, and then shown to the public for local input. After gathering feedback from the community, the alternatives are refined and analyzed to select the study recommendations to move forward to the design phase of the project.
Okay, we will now look at the recommendations for each of these studies. We're going to begin with the Rock Springs Road study. We're going to first show you a short clip that's going to include a flyover of a rendering of what the proposed updates will look like along Rock Springs Road corridor if this is selected.
The purpose of the Rock Springs Road study is to evaluate safety and access improvements at the intersection of Rock Springs Road and Welch Road, and along the half-mile of Rock Springs Road from Welch Road to Lester Road. The study also includes an intersection analysis and evaluation for the realignment of the intersection of Sandpiper Street with Park Avenue, and recommends improvements to the studied facilities. Let's start by looking at the recommended design of the Rock Springs Road and Welch Road intersection. Traveling north on Rock Springs Road, the proposed improvements begin just south of the intersection of Rock Springs Road at Welch Road. A new traffic separator begins at the start of the northbound left turn lane. At the intersection of Rock Springs Road and Welch Road, the proposed improvements include dual southbound left turn lanes, a dedicated right turn lane for Rock Springs Plaza and Walgreens, and 2 through lanes for both eastbound and westbound lanes on Welch Road. New traffic separators are recommended between opposing directions of travel at each leg of the intersection to improve safety by restricting left turns out of driveways in the vicinity of the intersection. A new sidewalk runs along the north side of Welch Road from Rock Springs Road to the Palm Isles community. Heading north on Rock Springs Road, the traffic separator continues until reaching the north entrance to the Publix Plaza at the McDonald's. At the Publix north entrance, a new signalized intersection is recommended to improve operations and safety. The recommended improvements include a dedicated southbound left turn lane, right and left turn lanes when exiting the plaza, and new pedestrian crosswalks. The traffic separator begins again on the north side of this intersection and continues north for approximately 320 feet. After the proposed improvements at the intersection of Rock Springs Road and Publix North entrance are implemented, the operations of this intersection will be analyzed. If the improvements do not sufficiently meet the pedestrian crossing needs, the addition of a mid-block crossing with rectangular rapid flashing beacons, also known as RRFBs, will be considered between the Publix North entrance and Tanglewood Drive. The recommended improvements to Rock Springs Road and just north of Lester Road. At the southern end of the corridor, improvements are proposed at Park Avenue and Sandpiper Street. Traveling north on Park Avenue, the improvements begin just south of Sandpiper Street. A new traffic signal is recommended at the intersection of Sandpiper Street and Park Avenue. Traveling east on Sandpiper Street, the proposed improvements include the realignment of the east leg of Sandpiper Street and a new sidewalk along the south side of Sandpiper Street from Park Avenue to Usler Avenue. A new sidewalk is also recommended along the north side of Sandpiper Street from Lake Avenue to Park Avenue. To see more details on the planned improvements, please visit metroplanorlando.org/Rock Springs. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the Rock Springs Road project. We encourage you to share this video with others.
Okay, great. So to recap what we saw in the video, the following are recommendations to improve operations and safety as part of the Rock Springs Road study. Additional turn lanes and raised traffic separators at the intersection of Welch Road at Rock Springs Road. A new signal at the Publix North entrance near the McDonald's and former Bubbaloo's restaurants. A new mid-block crossing or crosswalk south of Tanglewood Drive, which will be considered after the new signal at the Publix North entrance is implemented. Minor intersection updates at the Lester Road and Rock Springs Road intersection to allow for additional space for vehicles in the turn lane. The realignment and a new signal at the Sandpiper Street and Park Avenue intersection. New sidewalk along the north side of Sandpiper Street from Lake Avenue to Park Avenue. And new sidewalk along the south side of Sandpiper Street from Park Avenue to Usler Road. The following updates are recommended at the intersection of Welch Road and Rock Springs Road. We're looking at dual southbound left turn lanes and a new traffic separator at the start of the left turn lane at each leg of the intersection to restrict left turns in and out of adjacent driveways, a portion of which will be installed along with the proposed development in the northwest corner of the intersection. 2 through lanes for both eastbound and westbound on Welch Road, dual westbound dedicated right turn lanes, and a new sidewalk on the north side of Welch Road from Rock Springs to the Palm Isle community. Access enhancements are also recommended at the intersection, including a dedicated right turn lane for Rock Springs Road Plaza South entrance and the Walgreens. The recommended traffic separator proposed between opposing directions of travel at each leg of the intersection is a narrow concrete barrier that prevents vehicles from crossing lanes and traffic. The traffic separators will enhance safety by restricting left turns in and out of driveways in the vicinity of the intersection. At the Publix North entrance, a new signalized intersection is recommended along with a dedicated southbound left turn lane with a raised traffic separator, westbound right and left turn lanes, and a new pedestrian crosswalks. A mid-block crosswalk is recommended south of Tanglewood Drive. The mid-block crosswalk includes a raised median island with opportunities for landscape. Rectangular rapid flashing beacons, also known as RRFBs, would be installed along the crosswalk to enhance visibility of pedestrians. This recommendation will be reevaluated based on community needs after the installation of the Publix North entrance signal. At Sandpiper Street and Park Avenue, the recommended improvements include the realignment of the east leg of Sandpiper Street and the addition of a signal at this intersection. The study is also recommending the construction of new sidewalk along Sandpiper Street between Lake Avenue and Usler Road. The new sidewalk would be provided on the sides of the street that currently do not have sidewalk, specifically along the north side of Sandpiper Street, west of Park Avenue to Lake Avenue, and along the south side of Sandpiper Street, east of Park Avenue to Usler Road. This would increase sidewalk connectivity to the existing West Orange Trail. An analysis was conducted on these proposed updates to determine associated environmental, community, and drainage impacts, as well as estimated total costs. An environmental analysis determined a low potential for impacts to listed species and habitats and contamination sites within the study area. There are no wetlands or surface waters located along the study corridor, and therefore no impacts are anticipated. The recommended updates are anticipated to require 0.55 acres of right-of-way, in which a portion of the right-of-way needed is planned to be donated from the upcoming development in the northwest corner of the Welch Road at Rock Springs Road intersection. Overall, the recommended updates are anticipated to enhance the community. Regarding the drainage, the existing ponds receiving runoff from the project area have additional capacity, therefore no additional pond sites are needed. The estimated construction cost for the Rock Springs Road updates is $6.5 million, and the construction cost for the Sandpiper Street updates is $1.6 million. We will now briefly review the Rock Springs Road study traffic analysis results. Using an evaluation measure called level of service, also referred to as LOS, we are able to relate the quality of service for a mode of travel. These figures illustrate the traffic served under conditions ranging from level of service A to level of service F. Similar to grades in school, a roadway that performs at level of service A is not congested and supports free-flowing travel. A roadway that receives a failing grade experiences heavy congestions and significant delays as depicted in the level of service F exhibit. The existing traffic data was collected and analyzed along the study corridor. The target level of service assigned for the study corridor is level of service E. The existing traffic analysis shows the Welch Road at Rock Springs Road intersection in both the AM and PM peak periods does not operate at acceptable level of service, as well as the Sandpiper Street at Park Avenue intersection in the PM peak period. Utilizing future growth projections and traffic models, a long-term growth factor was applied to project the traffic volumes within the study area to a future year of 2045. With no additional improvements to Rock Springs Road, it is expected to experience much higher delays in the future year 2045. With the addition of proposed improvements, all operations result within the target level of service of E. There is a reduced overall delay at the Welch Road intersection by 74% in the 2045 morning and by 72% in the 2045 PM. By implementing the proposed improvements to the corridor, the Welch Road intersection operates at acceptable levels. So now we're going to review some of the details about the proposed updates for the West Orange Trail extension. We're going to start with a short clip similar to the previous one of a flyover rendering of what the trail could look like.
The Orange County Trails Master Plan identifies a gap in the regional trail network between the northern terminus of the existing West Orange Trail and the southern terminus of the Wekiva Trail. Through the existing conditions analysis, public involvement feedback, and input from local agency stakeholders, several alternatives were identified to extend the West Orange Trail to the proposed Wekiva Trail, while providing connections to the Wekiva River Blueway Trail and Wolf Lake Elementary and Middle Schools, as well as the City of Apaka's Northwest Recreation Complex. This video will take you through the recommended concept for the West Orange Trail extension and its spurs. The recommended trail extension is shown in orange as we have been traveling north along Rock Springs Road. The trail runs along the east side of Rock Springs Road, starting from the existing trail terminus at Lester Road until reaching Kelly Park Road. The proposed trail is 12 feet wide to accommodate both bicyclists and pedestrians and adds approximately 3.3 miles to the West Orange Trail network. This portion of the West Orange Trail extension crosses 5 streets and 58 driveways. The street crossings include Fay Street, Poncan Road, Trailer Haven Lane, Pine Street, and Holly Street. In order to build this portion of the West Orange Trail extension, approximately 2.5 acres of right-of-way will be needed. As we reach Kelly Park Road, the recommended trail turns right to travel east along the south side of Kelly Park Road, and then north along the east side of Baptist Camp Road, ending at the entrance to Kelly Park. Now we will take a look at the proposed concept for the Welch Road Spur. Traveling east on Welch Road, the recommended 12-foot wide trail spur alignment runs along the north side of Welch Road from Rock Springs Road to the entrance of Wekiwa Springs State Park. As part of the recommended trail spur, Welch Road requires a roadway realignment beginning at Ustler Road in order to provide space for the trail and avoid impacts to the wall at the Wekiwa Glen subdivision. The roadway realignment will remain within the existing right-of-way. Just west of Thompson Road, the recommended trail spur includes 2 potential locations for a natural habitat observation area. The observation areas will serve as a place to rest and provide an opportunity for wildlife viewing along the trail. The trail continues along Welch Road until just west of Sweetwater Park Village. Here, the trail heads north, then east, wrapping around the edge of the neighborhood within the Wekiwa Springs State Park property. The trail then connects with Wekiwa Springs Road, continuing east until the entrance to Wekiwa Springs State Park. The Welch Road Spur is approximately 3 miles in length and requires an estimated 7.3 acres of right-of-way, of which only 0.1 acres is privately owned. The final trail spur alignment is along Poncan Road to connect the West Orange Trail to Wolf Lake Elementary and Middle Schools, as well as the City of Apopka's Northwest Recreation Complex. Heading west from Rock Springs Road, the proposed trail spur runs along the south side of Poncan Road from Rock Springs Road to Vic Road. The trail will cross Poncan Road on the east side of the Vic Road intersection, where there is an existing signal providing for a protected crosswalk. From this intersection, the trail continues along the north side of Poncan Road until reaching the entrance to Wolf Lake Elementary School. The recommended Poncan Road spur is approximately 2.3 miles in length and requires an estimated 2.1 acres of right-of-way. To see more details on the planned improvements, please visit metroplanorlando.org/Rock Springs. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the West Orange Trail Extension Project. We encourage you to share this video with others.
Great. So to recap from the video, the West Orange Trail Extension Study is looking at 3 different corridors: the Rock Springs Road from Lester Road to Kelly Park Road, Welch Road and Wekiwa Springs Road from Rock Springs Road to the Wekiwa Springs State Park entrance, and then Poncan Road from Rock Springs Road to the Wolf Lake Elementary and Middle Schools. Along Rock Springs Road from Lester Road to Kelly Park Road, The recommended trail extension alignment is kept along the east side of Rock Springs Road to tie into the proposed Wekiva Trail. The Welch Road spur runs along Welch Road from Rock Springs Road to Wekiva Springs State Park, wrapping around the Sweetwater Park Village along the state park boundary. To make room for the trail, a portion of Welch Road east of Usler Road requires realignment. A potential natural habitat observation area is also being considered in 2 locations as part of this recommended trail spur. Traveling east, the trail will run along the north side of Welch Road until just west of Sweetwater Park Village. Here, the trail heads north, then east, wrapping around the edge of Sweetwater Park Village within the Wekiva Springs State Park property. Finally, the trail connects with the north side of Wekiva Springs Road, continuing until the entrance to Wekiva Springs State Park. The recommended Welch Road Trail spur will provide a connection to the Wekiva Springs State Park entrance with fewer driveway and street crossings. The trail would follow the forest edge, providing the opportunity for more wildlife viewing away from the roadway. The Spring to Spring Trail in Volusia County is an example of what this portion of the trail could look like. The design and vegetation plans for the Welch Road Wekiva Springs State Park alignment have not yet been developed. During the design phase, fencing may be considered to provide a buffer between the proposed trail and existing properties. Additional improvements were considered for implementation along the Welch Road Trail spur, including 2 options for a proposed natural habitat observation area. The proposed natural habitat observation areas would be located along the trail on Welch Road at North Thompson Road and just west of North Thompson Road. This photo is an example of a natural habitat observation area. The exact locations or design for the Welch Road Wekiva Springs State Park alignment have not yet been developed. The recommended Ponkin Road Trail spur alignment runs along the south side of Ponkin Road from Rock Springs Road to Vic Road. The recommendation includes a protected crosswalk just east of Vic Road, where the trail crosses the street and continues along the north side of Ponkin Road from Vic Road to Wolf Lake Elementary and Middle Schools, as well as the City of Apopka's Northwest Recreation Complex. An analysis was conducted on the West Orange Trail Extension Study, determined the associated environmental, community, and drainage impacts, as well as the estimated construction cost. An environmental analysis determined a moderate potential for impacts to wildlife due to the proximity to Wekiva Springs State Park and forested areas. 12 listed wildlife species have the potential to occupy habitats within or adjacent to the proposed trails on Welch Road and Ponkin Road. And along Rock Springs Road, there is a low potential for impacts to listed species. There is a low potential for impacts to wetlands along Rock Springs Road and Ponkin Road. 2 wetland areas are located along Welch Road. During the design phase, efforts will be made to mitigate unavoidable impacts to wetlands in accordance with state and federal wetland permitting requirements. Regarding contamination, 39 sites are found adjacent to the 3 trail alignments. However, the proposed trails are not likely to impact any of the listed sites. For community impacts, our analysis determined a low potential for impacts to archaeological and historical resources. We understand that the proposed trail runs adjacent to existing residential communities along the Wekiva Springs State Park boundary. Overall, the proposed trails are anticipated to enhance the community by providing access to recreational facilities, as well as provide the local community with an alternate mode of transportation. Regarding right-of-way impacts, 2.5 acres of right-of-way are required for the West Orange Trail extension along Rock Springs Road. 2.1 acres of right-of-way are required for the Ponkin Road spur, and 5.8 acres of right-of-way are required for the Welch Road spur. The study team has been in coordination with the Wekiva Springs State Park to provide an easement for the trail alignment that runs within the park. The majority of the needed right-of-way would be within the park easement. Regarding drainage, there is a moderate potential for impacts to drainage systems, including anticipated impacts to 3 elongated ponds and swales along Welch Road. There are additional anticipated impacts to 3 cross drains on Rock Springs Road. Necessary adjustments will be determined during the design phase of the project to provide an adequate stormwater system. The estimated construction cost for the trail along Rock Springs Road from Lester Road to Kelly Park Road is $5 million. The estimated construction cost for the trail spur along Welch Road from Rock Springs Road to Wekiva Springs State Park is $5.2 million. And the cost for the trail along the Pumpkin Road from Rock Springs Road to Wolf Lake Elementary Middle Schools is estimated at $5.5 million. We began these planning studies in early spring of 2021, and we expect them to be completed at the end of this year. Following this public meeting, the study team will finalize the study recommendations to move into the design phase of the project. In addition to participating in the live question and answer session following this presentation, there are several ways that you can get involved and provide feedback on the study. The best way to provide feedback is to fill out a survey on the recommended improvements by visiting bit.ly/RSRWOTS survey 3. This is on your screen as well. You can also submit your comments and fill out the online survey directly from the project website at metroplanorlando.org/rocksprings. In-person attendees can also fill out a comment form and hand it to any project team member. You may also email your comments and questions to the project manager, whose contact information will be provided again at the conclusion of this presentation. To allow the project team to finalize the study recommendations within the previously shown schedule, we ask that you please submit your survey responses by October 20th. So if you would like to participate in the live question and answer session, please use this time to submit your questions or comments on the study. For those that are participating via Zoom, please submit your comments to the Q&A box on the Zoom control panel. In-person attendees may fill out a comment card and raise your hand for a project team member to collect your completed card. During the live Q&A session, a moderator will take turns reading questions submitted online and in person. Our team of panelists will address your comments in the available time after the live presentation. If a question is not answered during the live Q&A forum, a response will be provided via email following the public comment period. We will now begin the question and answer portion of the meeting. If you have not already, please submit your question cards to project staff or enter your comments into the Q&A box located on the Zoom control panel. You may also email or mail your questions following the meeting to tlaurent, TLAURENT@metroplanorlando.org, and we will answer as many questions this evening as time permits.
All right, thank you very much, folks. So we're getting ready to go into the question and answer section of our program today. We've got about half of our audience inside the meeting room and about half of our audience online. So we are going to try hard to get to every single one of your questions. But as Amy said, if we don't get the chance to answer all of them, we will be getting in touch with you to answer your questions. So we can go ahead and stop the screen share at this time. And we will get right into the questions. So we're going to try to take the Rock Springs Road ones first, and then we will take the ones on the West Orange Trail. So for the study team, the first question is about the design of the Rock Springs Road intersection with Welch. How long will the extra lanes on Welch continue? So they're looking for information on how exactly far back those extra lanes will go.
So we're going to look over to our engineer, Kevin, see if he can pull up the exact distance of that. But the additional left turn lanes do go pretty far back north along Rock Springs Road, closer to the right turn in on the public side, where that right turn in only is located.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next question is about the concrete separator. So will there be a concrete separator on Rock Springs Road between the construction of the traffic signal at the Publix entrance and the mid-block crosswalk, and they want to know, will there be an allowable U-turn at Tanglewood?
So yes, there will be a raised traffic separator on Rock Springs Road from that proposed new traffic signal ending just south of the Tanglewood Drive street. So I will get closer to be a little louder. And there would be a permitted U-turn at Tanglewood.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. The next question is about bike lanes. What is being done for bike lanes on both sides of Rock Springs Road? Right now along Rock Springs Road, there are no bike lanes from Ponkin to Welch, and the person feels like it's a very dangerous area for cyclists.
So I'll start this question and then ask Amy to chime in for this one. So with the trail that's being proposed along Ponkin, that would be able to serve the needs of bicyclists as well as pedestrians along Ponkin.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Nothing more to add there.
Okay, thank you. The next question is about the entrance to the townhomes at Wekiva subdivision. Will there be any provision on Rock Springs Road at the entrance to the townhomes at Wekiva? This seems to be an area of several crashes, and at times it takes a long time to make a left-hand turn coming out of that subdivision, and the center median lane is often very crowded.
So Pam, the townhomes at Wekiva, those are located
on the east side of the road.
so north on the east side of Rock Springs Road, just north of the Publix
A
intersection.
little bit further up.
Okay. So yes, there would be a raised traffic separator in that location. So you'd be able to turn right out of the townhomes and then go up to the next U-turn opportunity to be able to turn left.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see here. As far as we know, we covered the timeline for construction, but could you give us a reminder of for the Rock Springs Road designs, what that timeline for construction would be?
So for the Rock Springs Road project, we plan on finishing the planning study by December of this year. The design for some of these phases has not yet been funded. I do believe the city of Apopka is looking at advancing a few components of the study. So for that, I will turn over to Pam to talk about those components.
We have a couple things going on right now. We have the realignment of Sandpiper Road and the signal under design, and the construction of the realignment and the signal are funded in next fiscal year. To help with immediately at the intersection of Rock Springs and Welch, under design right now is a traffic separator that runs from the intersection north to the strip center. I think there's a Marco's Pizza there. And that will help stop the left turns into that entrance at Publix and the left turns out. They're creating some congestion at the intersection by disallowing people heading south and wanting to turn left from actually making the light because someone stopped there trying to turn left in. And also less conflicts by disallowing that left turn out. It's been marked that way. I'm not sure if the signs, we've been replaced them like a million times. When we put the pork chop in, the flexible delineators, I think all 7 of them were gone the first day. So we were trying to encourage people to do the right thing. It didn't work as well as we'd hoped. So we're taking it to the next step. We're putting the concrete barrier in there. There will be no left turns. And this is an interim step until we can get the dual southbound lefts in, get the rest of the improvements in. But I think it'll help for, a short time.
Thank you very much. So now we're going to move into our questions about the West Orange Trail Extension studies. We have lots of questions on this side of the study, so we'll go ahead and get started. So there were several questions about the location of the Welch Road spur in relation to Wekiwa Springs Park. There are concerns that the trail might possibly go inside the park. So can you please clarify exactly the placement of the trail and what the park impacts would be?
So the study has been coordinating with the Wekiwa Springs State Park. They've been involved with us throughout the conversation for the past year and a half. We are proposing moving forward with an easement along the park boundary. So a 20-foot easement where that trail would be located. It would not provide any additional access or entryway points to the park. There would still be a fence separating the trail from the park. Amy, would you like to add on to that?
And some of the area where we're looking at the easement with the park, as Taylor mentioned, is within the fire break as well. So I think you basically covered everything on there.
Right, I think that also facilitates the scenic overlooks that are planned as well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm sorry, it also facilitates the scenic overlook locations that are planned.
Thank you. That volume was much better for those of us on the virtual side.
We had a question in the room for how tall is the fence? That hasn't been decided quite yet. So in the design phase, if this alternative does move forward, that would be where we continue our coordination with the park to identify what type of fence, the size, height, and exactly where it will be located.
Thank you. Okay, and this question is about providing a little more comfort for pedestrians and cyclists on the trail. Can the preferred alignment along Rock Springs Road be made more pleasant for cyclists and pedestrians by adding shade trees to the buffer between the road and the trail to protect them from the direct sun?
I think we want to explore all those opportunities. Yes, along the Rock Springs Road, there's very limited right of way, so that limits some of the options that we do have. When it comes to amenities, that's where we continue working with our partners at both Orange County and the city of Apopka to find out what we can do to enhance the experience.
Thank you. And we also have a question, how does this benefit true cyclists? And the person did not provide a definition for what they might mean by that, but perhaps they mean folks who may use a bicycle as their primary form of transportation, maybe faster speed riders. How will this benefit them?
So the intent of the trail is to provide a separated facility for bicyclists and pedestrians to travel safely along Rock Springs Road, Ponkin Road, as well as Welch Road to get to their different destinations, whether that's going out to each of the schools or Wekiwa Springs State Park or north to Kelly Park Road or coming back in towards town.
Yeah, and more experienced cyclists, they're still welcome to ride in the road as well. They are a vehicle and they are permitted to ride in the roadway. I think we don't want to lose sight of what a real cyclist is. It could be someone young that wants that experience, and what better place to learn than on a separated facility away from traffic. So I kind of consider those estuaries for potentially more dedicated cyclists in the future. And as far as Orange County's projects go, we've been routinely getting feedback from residents on our projects that they're not so interested in the on-road experience, that they prefer a separated site, multi-purpose path, let's say. So we've been getting that pretty consistently over the last few years.
And to add a little bit more to that response too, as we looked at, as you see, we're looking at Rock Springs Road and Welch Road intersection in the first project. When we did the analysis of the intersection, we made sure to consider the trail crossing and that we didn't make that intersection too wide. And also we'll be working during the next phases on the signalization to see if there's opportunities to provide like a leading pedestrian interval, which allows the pedestrians to go across the street before the cars are passing. And several of the alignments as well, we looked at options that had fewer driveway crossings where possible.
Thank you. So getting back to the Welch Road spur, we had a couple of questions with folks curious about how exactly users on the trail would be able to enter the park.
So with that alignment, there would be no new access or entryway points to the park. They would follow along the trail, and if they wanted to enter Wekiwa Springs State Park, they would go through the existing entrance station off of Wekiwa Springs Road.
Okay, thank you very much. And so maybe that goes along with this question. What will the end of the trail look like? And how will the connection to the trail be constructed?
So the ending point of the trail would be that Welch Road spur would be the Wekiwa Springs State Park entrance. So right near the driveway or potentially connecting to an existing sidewalk if there's one at that location.
And let's keep in mind that we're interfacing with other counties, and other counties have trail programs also that are a continuation of these trails. So it's going to be a massive interconnectivity of trails throughout the region.
Thank you. And along those lines, we have a couple of questions about connectivity to other trails. So one question is about, will there be a connection to the Wekiwa River Blueway Trail? And another person is wondering about connections to, and I lost my spot here. Let's start with the Wekiwa River Blueway Trail.
So Brian and I were just mentioning that the Wekiwa River Blueway Trail is further to the east along Welch Road, I believe. And it's building off of what Brian just said. We're incrementally creating a network, not only within Orange County, but connecting to other neighboring counties as well. So you're not limited by jurisdiction about where you can walk, ride, or cycle.
Okay, and the other connectivity question was, are there plans for linking either Rock Springs Road or the West Orange Trail and the Neighborhood Lakes Trail?
Neighborhood Lakes Trail. I'm sorry, Pam?
It's already there. Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you. We're getting some help from the audience. For those online, the North Lakes Trail is already connected to the West Orange Trail further south. So that connection is already in place.
And Cynthia, at some point, we do have some questions in the chambers as well.
Yes, we are getting those. I am getting those typed to me as folks turn in their comment forms. So if those in the meeting room can keep writing those down and turning them into staff, those are being shuttled to me as well.
But we're getting hands up also.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, let's go through all the ones that were submitted first. And if we finish with those, then we can get to the hands up ones, since we've kind of set this up as our channel here so that we can go back and forth between the virtual and the in-person attendees. Okay, our next question has to do with equestrian access. So can we have equestrian access to the trail on Rock Springs Road from Welch Road to Kelly Park Road?
So that one is going to be a little. Okay. So for those online, we're getting clarification on the question that there is a preference from equestrian users. Make sure I'm characterizing this correctly, please. To use one of the alternative routes closer to the Wekiwa Springs State Park boundary.
Yep.
Okay, so the concern is that the alternative routes aren't being shown tonight. So
Yeah, even if we
Mhm.
were recommending one of those alternative trails, there wouldn't be any new entrances into the park by anybody. So it would just be a user experience on the trail and that's it.
And that was that was a recommendation or a suggestion, I guess, a requirement from the park in order to have the easement. They don't want to allow additional access to the park besides the existing entrance because they don't have the facility set up for additional users to come in and they need to check people in. So they definitely made that clear that only the front entrance is what they want to keep. Let me write. If anyone has questions or comments, if you could please fill out a comment card and hand it to one of the staff members and we can, just to keep it fair for the folks that are online as well.
And if we get through in time and there's still time left, hands up, we'll take them.
Absolutely.
Well,
Okay, do we still have questions coming in the room?
yes, we're listening to a
I know,
question.
So for those folks online, I'm not sure if you were able to hear the commentary in
not.
the room. Okay. To summarize, essentially, the gentleman was discussing the folks that live in the area that have horses and the equestrian users and the inability to access the park, not necessarily from a new entrance, but not being able to use the proposed Rock Springs Road Trail to take their horses to get into the park. Is that roughly summarize your statement? Okay. Right. And I think the part of the thought of the intent of this trail is really for pedestrians and cyclists. I know there are trails where they do accommodate equestrians adjacent to trails. All of these segments, the Rock Springs Roads, the Welch Road Spur and the Pumpkin Road have very tight right of way. And so that was not analyzed, the equestrian trails as part of this. Tell me if I'm speaking out of line.
no, you're fine.
And I don't know if on those trails near the park or the existing, I know there's some dirt roadways out there, if those are allowed to currently be used for equestrian access and that wouldn't change in this scenario. Does that help?
Okay, next question.
Okay, we have a question about trailheads. Will there be any trailheads or parking at the intersection of Welch Road and Rock Springs?
So those locations have not been identified as part of this planning study. That would be something that would be further explored during design or later on by both Orange County and the city of Apopka.
Okay, and we also have a question about trail amenities and also trail safety. What type of safety measures will be put in place? Things like call boxes or lighting or cameras, and what type of amenities are being planned, such as water, snacks, or bike shops?
So some of that is partially growth with trails. It looks like Brian was ready to answer that one. I'll pass it over to him.
Right, Orange County Trails have a safety program in place that puts delineators along the trail with information on how to report anything that is happening on the trail. And those delineators help law enforcement and emergency services to go to those locations very quickly. So there are plans in place and infrastructure that would support that.
Thank you. Another connection question, can we get a connection of the walking trail that connects 429 off Mount Plymouth 429 to Kelly Park?
So that is a reference to the planned Wakaiwa Springs Trail north of Kelly Park Road connecting to the 429. I believe that is in the Orange County Trails Master Plan.
It is, it's in the plan. The existing trail, of course, was built as part of the Wakaiva Parkway. And I believe it does have trailheads on both ends. It's not a very long segment, but that's how we get that connection into Lake County. So, you're right, it is part of the county's trails master plan. I don't believe that has a priority coming up soon. So it's something to look forward to in the future.
Thank you. This person wants to know, what is the likelihood of the West Orange Trail taking the alternate route east on Fay to Junior Avenue, north to Ponkin, and then west back to Rock Springs?
So that sounds like a verbal description of the alternative that follows the Wakaiwa Springs Park boundary. So as we were doing our due diligence with this study, it came to light that there was a resolution that was passed that prevented and precluded that alternative from being recommended as a part of this study. That is something that could be revisited in the future with a future resolution, but at this time, that's not something we can consider and recommend, unfortunately.
Thank you. And regarding the alternative trail, oh, sorry. Question from in the room?
We can address it afterwards.
Okay. Alrighty. Regarding alternative trail options, how do we know if the alternative trail option will be chosen? Will there be another chance to have input before the route is selected?
This is the input time. So that's why we're coming to present these recommendations to you to get your feedback so we can do some fine tuning before we finalize the results of this study and the project is eligible to move forward to design.
Thank you. And this comes from a homeowner. What will be done for safety for homeowners along the trail, since people are using the trail in such a secluded area, and also to protect people from wildlife attacks? And will the city or county purchase property to bring the trail to the south side of Fay Street?
Well, again, safety on the trail, there's a safety program, as I mentioned. Wildlife, I know firsthand about the wildlife in this area. I live in this area, I have bears in my backyard. The bears, you can see where they're coming over the fence along Welch Road. As mentioned, we would be constructing part of this trail in the state park, and we would have to restore the fencing there. And it's probably be a little different fencing than what we have out there today, I would recommend. But that's we would negotiate that with the state park, and, understanding that more people would be using that area. In terms of crime, I'm not sure that criminals are going to be using the trail they don't really need it. All right. So what does happen on trails is that there's a lot more eyes and a lot more cell phones that are in the area, that if they see something, there's a good chance they're going to say something. So it's can be seen in a couple of different ways. I try to look at the more positive way, that a trail brings more access to law enforcement if anyone sees anything happening along the way, including the homes that are in view.
Thank you. And to go along with something you said.
Hang on just a moment.
Okay, thank you.
So the question for the people online was, can we keep this trail all on the road? Yeah, that's an option. To me, maybe some others, that's probably the lowest quality trail that's out there because you're right next to the cars. There's fumes, there's noise. You know, the wildlife experience is not the same. I mean, it's a different experience altogether. And you know, where we have opportunities, we want to look at options to, you know, provide that experience. I mean, let me finish. I'm sorry, let me finish. Part of this was to connect the springs together, and those are great experiences. So I think people are looking for great experiences in this area, and we have them to offer.
We ready for our next question?
It's okay. No. Yeah, and look,
So-
that's why we're here tonight, to listen to your. Hang on just a second. That's what we're here to doing, is listening to your comments and recommendations, and that's exactly why we're here. You know, we're not pushing one thing over another. We're looking at options. There's thousands of people that want that same experience that you have, that they may never have where they live. So that's why ecotourism is important. That's why people come to places like this to experience that. They come to the springs to experience that, because it's. I completely understand. I completely understand what you're saying. Oh, okay. People will look. People will learn that, of course. You know, they come and it's full, and then they go. People ride their bikes and they say, "Oh, it's full. I'll just keep biking or go back." So we completely understand the sentiments. We wanted to provide whatever options that we could to make it a as high quality a trail as possible. These trails aren't cheap; they're very expensive. So we want to be sure that we're getting a good experience out of it as well. But your voices are important as well, and all of this is being documented and taken into consideration.
Now we will have no friend. I want to repeat myself. We completely messed up everything. But there's one little thing I want to add. What you said is think there is the road, the third road there where the ranger that people invade.
Yeah.
And I can tell you stories. People jump it. They do some stuff that they shouldn't. But now I am the first house in the room. My life will completely change. And I am not in favor of it. I would suggest that they put their brains together and find at least an alternative. Thank you.
Right, we have alternatives as has been mentioned.
Can we restate briefly for our virtual audience?
We're very happy that you came. We want to hear it. We want to hear you.
Cynthia.
Okay, Cynthia, I think we've exercised oh, wait,
Yes. It's not intended to be.
one more question. Well, through,
The fences are good. Give an option.
mhm. Okay, we'll have to consider the wildlife corridors and fencing. Today's fencing is pretty much, hog fencing. It's the square fencing with barb on top. What's that?
Is that the people that use the trail will fall over.
Yeah, I mean, people who abuse things, yeah, we do as much as we can, but there's still going to be that no matter what we do. Understood. Yeah, well, public access, yeah. Understood. Yeah, there's no access now. But there's a proposal and options. Yes, sir, in the yellow.
I'm sorry, as folks are speaking in the room, can panelists please restate because our virtual audience cannot hear what the folks in the audience
Okay,
think.
the last comment was more the same, basically, about public access behind the houses and what are the accommodations for wildlife. So
Thank you.
the next question.
And, but the issue here, I'm concerned specifically the Welch Road, so why don't people work on that one? Let's get the real trail going, the one that connects the coast to coast. I'm ready from Titusville, and it comes all the way, so we go to St. Pete, come right through here. So really increase the economy.
Yeah, the comment was about focusing on completing the coast to coast trail. And I know Orange County is absolutely working on that with the DOT and their other departments. Absolutely, yes.
That's the one that brings the emotion here. And so that one might need to be worked on with the committee. And I'm more concerned about the traffic on Rock Springs Road going so fast and the trail being right next to it. I think if we can put a barrier between the road and the trail to prevent it that way. And I want the people who studied it to ride at 2 o'clock in August with no shade. Okay? Yeah. What about the shade?
Okay, so we had
26 miles a day. But we want it convenient, we want it nice. And it can be done, but unless you have cyclists on the committee, they're not gonna fix it. Y'all have a cyclist on the committee. Do you have a cyclist on the committee?
Oh, yeah, we
Yes,
absolutely have cyclists on the committee. Probably not. I
That
don't
one I
think so.
don't have.
No.
From West Orange Trail myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Feel like Clark waiting for them, right there. And they have those ramps off to the road. To the terrace.
Right. So the comments are from some avid cyclists, recumbent trikes, voting heavily for shaded facilities. It's very hot, very challenging at some points. The Rock Springs Road alignment has a lot of driveways, which is, adds to the quality of that trail alignment. There's not a lot of right of way there. There's developments along there as well that we have to consider. So we did look at alternatives, but there were issues with that. So we have what we have.
Very long.
Right. The length is not that long. Yes. Let's hold some comments on the inside and let's finish the online comments. Cynthia, go ahead.
Thank you. Can we talk about what the timeline and coordination effort is for these West Orange Trail extensions? What kind of timeline are we looking at?
So in terms of the Orange County trails, most of the trails that we produce are funded through federal funds. In other words, we work with our Tri-County Metroplan Orlando organization to list those projects, prioritize those projects, and fund those projects. So with the completion of the study, we will, Taylor, you want to
Would
explain a
be-
little more of that?
We'd be looking for funding for design for any of the trail components that would move forward based on the recommendations of the study. That process, the design phase usually lasts approximately 2 years. If they continue on, construction could be 5+ years into the future. So we're here talking about these concepts very early, getting your feedback about what's feasible, what's not, what's a good idea, and what is not, and where we need to make some adjustments. So we do appreciate all of your feedback tonight.
Okay, thank you. Going back to the Welch Road, Rock Springs Road piece of the study, we had a couple of folks writing in with concerns about the amount of traffic volumes on Welch Road. They say it's very, very hard to navigate and to get out of the subdivisions along there. So does this project have anything to do with the widening of Welch Road to 4 lanes?
I think it's more complementary to the need to add additional capacity to Welch Road. And that's, you want to?
Go ahead. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that we know that there's a widening project to the east of this project, and this one was coordinated with the project, so it doesn't preclude the widening to the east. Additionally, let me see the funding as far as any kind of additional looking at widening of Welch Road from Vic Road to Rock Springs Road is currently unfunded. There is a segment from Rock Springs Road to Thompson Road that has planning, design, and right-of-way in the planning year of 2031 to 2035. Of course, that's dependent on funding coming through. And then construction in the planning period of 2036 to 2045. And then there's a segment from Thompson Road to Wekiva Springs Road that's in a planning period of 2026 to 2030.
Okay, thank you. And back to West Orange Trail, we have a question about what type of barriers, berms, or retention areas are proposed to block the runoff into the park from the trail going east on Welch to Wekiva Springs park entrance. And will a barrier such as a fence stay in place to separate parkland from trail users?
So if the alternative does move forward, a fence along separating the trail from the park would be included as part of our discussions and the requirements of the easement with the Wekiwa Springs State Park.
Okay, thank you. And going
Yeah.
back,
You want to do
As
run
far
up?
as,
So typically along trails, there's a gentle swale that captures the runoff from the trail itself. It slows the runoff down, it attenuates a little bit, it gets a little bit of treatment, and it's usually all contained within the trail envelope. Okay.
okay, thank you. Going back to the question previous about the townhome subdivision. Person states that it seems that requiring all exits from the townhomes at Wekiwa to turn right and then U-turn at Trader Mays may be unreasonable for someone going to Publix. Is there a possibility for a light to be installed at the entrance to the townhome community?
That would be way too close to the planned signal at the public entrance. Typically, separation of traffic signals is a 1/4 mile in length, and so that would be way too close.
Okay.
There, yeah, absolutely. I understand the inconvenience. However, we have to deal with the safety of the roadway as the top priority. And with the 5-lane section that's out there now, that's the roughest section that we have to deal with. And there's way too many uncontrolled movements and conflict points with that. And so implementing an access management plan such as this will reduce the crashes and improve the safety.
Thank you. And we're running out of time for our Q&A session today, but one more question. For all the costs that were stated in the presentation for all these pieces of the projects, do those costs include land acquisition?
So the costs that were presented tonight were purely for construction cost estimates. That doesn't include the funding needed for design or any land acquisition if that is required.
and Cynthia, if we could go back to the previous question, sorry to go backwards. Coming out, if this is the correct subdivision I'm looking at on the plans, that's north of the Publix north entrance, there currently, we are not showing a traffic separator for the entrance at Vista Crest Drive. So coming in and out of there, they would be able to continue to make a left out and a left in.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So at this time, we've run out of time for our Q&A. We thank everyone so much for all the questions that you've submitted. There are a couple that we didn't get a chance to get to today, and we will follow up on those because we have your contact information. So at this time, I will turn it over to Taylor to close us out.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. And I know there are still several questions here in the room, so we'll go ahead and have more, extend our open house period so we can speak one-on-one with you and get your feedback and take those comments in for the project consideration. But for those online, I will say thank you for attending this public meeting, both in person and online tonight. And we encourage you to provide your feedback if you've not already done so by filling out the survey, submitting a comment card, or reaching out to our project team. So the information from tonight's meeting will be published on our project website at metroplanorlando.org/Rock Springs. And thank you again for attending, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.